Call the meeting
Anybody
to
have
order.
bottled water?
Sure.
Yeah, I'll have one, thanks. You sure you don't?
Yeah, I'll take one,
Okay.
as long as they're going in that direction.
I'm good.
Speak up, I don't think I heard you.
No.
1 o'clock, we'll call the meeting to order.
Dish, please, I know, maybe. Need a couple, please.
Call the meeting to order.
Blizzard.
No, that, don't have blizzard, it's Diet Coke with lots of ice because I wanted water.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Meeting's called to order. Rachel, go ahead and call the agenda, please. Or call, roll call.
Sherry Bouye,
Yes,
Jim Ellis,
Here.
Scott Gordon,
Yes.
Clyde Rabideau,
Here.
Nick Russell,
Here,
Melissa Mills and Nate Manette are absent. Also present, Jeremy Evans, Paul Ellis, and Rachel Karp.
Thank you. Assume that we have a quorum. We can move on now to accepting the agenda. Are there any notes or any additions or deletions or what have you for the agenda? If not, we'll assume that that's agenda is set. Please indicate your willingness to accept the agenda by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Public comment. There being none, we'll move on to the approval of the previous meeting minutes, March 19, 2025, copy of which you all got by email. Are there any corrections, additions, deletions that has been made to the minutes of March 19, 2025? There being none, we'll accept a motion to approve the meeting minutes of March 19, 2025. Motion by
So moved.
Clyde Rabideau, second.
Second.
Gary. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Nay. Committee reports, governance. Nate's not here. Audit and finance.
Nothing, other than we need a chairperson with Archie's retirement.
Oh, that's right, okay. If any of you who are present wish to volunteer, please let me know by email.
Right, Scott? Unless,
what's that?
we need a chairperson for finance. Committee.
I didn't hear any of that.
me either. Nothing.
I do everything. You don't have to do it. We just need it.
Well, we know
Move on
that.
to the treasurer's report. Point of order. Treasurer's report, Paul.
Hadn't had a chance really to do any kind of an analysis on it. I just was able to get it produced. I will say, I had mentioned before that we now have completely accurate and current financials. I was able to say that for the IDA last year. Can now say it for the EDC. And working with the auditor this year, we finally cleaned up some of the obscure problems that we were having, and we now have, for both the IDA, EDC, and the CDC, the first time ever in the history of the organization, completely accurate, current financial statements on a monthly basis.
So we can take it to the bank.
You can take it to the bank.
Thank you. Anything else for the treasurer's report, Paul?
Just to kind of reiterate, unlike a lot of businesses that have monthly income, where you can look at a more consistent pattern and comparison from year to year, ours is more unique in that we don't have monthly income, we don't have monthly sales. We have, pilot proceeds from our fees. And although we don't get something every month, looking over the history of our pilots, there is a pattern that exists that the pilot fees come in and are sufficient enough to sustain the organization until the next batch of pilot fees comes in. There is a very unique opportunity that Jeremy's working on with a number of potential solar farms, and I don't know if there's still a wind farm out there But the organization actually has the opportunity that if we're successful with even one or two of these extremely large projects, that the fee that we could collect could actually make us so sustainable that we would never be able to spend all of the money that we take in.
That's a
That
tough
are-
problem to have.
Huh?
That's a tough problem to have.
Yeah, I know. So, there, Jeremy and I have, discussed, we don't want cash to build up in the organization that we can't utilize it nor ever spend. So we're looking at alternatives that, are being employed by other IDAs, EDCs that would allow a portion of that money to be siphoned off at closing that would go to the EDC. And thus providing additional support. The EDC and that overflow of cash could most likely make the EDC permanently sustainable. So, these have been goals that, I've been working on since I first got here about, making the organizations, as sustainable as possible. I never would have imagined that we would have these large pilot projects in front of us that could actually, again, create a situation where we could never spend all of the money. So
Like revolving loan funds and stuff like that.
this is beyond revolving loan. I mean, I would say for the EDC, from the IDA over to the EDC, and I know right now we're talking about the IDA, but since we're on it, I mean, some of the grant revenue, just on the storm project that we're working on, has the potential of generating $90,000 in administrative income for us. Obviously, the loan portfolio has grown this year, so, I mean, that, again, that's been part of our plan since, at least when I came on board, Jeremy and I, looking at a strategy of how do we ramp things up. And, obviously the storm grant kind of fell in our lap, but, there's new revenue streams and bigger revenue streams that we've never had in the past. So, I'm very optimistic. It's like Scott said, it's a good problem to have.
If we ever get to that position, Paul, we may want to all of us may want to think about doing something like a rainy day fund, because depending on what the federal government's going to do with its budgeting, a lot of the federal programs that we administer may all of a sudden disappear. So I'd like to probably just have you focus as you're doing your work, which is very good, by the way. Have you focus on thinking about a fund that I'd call a sustaining fund, something that could sustain us over a period of time while we're looking around for other things that we need to draw revenue from.
Well, I think, Jeremy and I have actually talked, because again, if these, again, there's 3 or 4 pilots that are out there. And even if 1 or 2 of them materialize, it's going to put us in a great position. We're actually, when we talk about moving some of that money over to the EDC, we would still be sustainable in the EDC. We actually would be looking at these additional monies that the EDC would have to help support other businesses that might be struggling or lose funding.
Okay, very good. Any questions for Paul? There being none, we'll accept a motion to approve the treasurer's report. Motion by Nick, second.
Second.
Scott? Any discussion? There being none, we'll call for the vote now to accept the treasurer's report. All those in favor of accepting the treasurer's report as just given, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Very good. CEO report.
Thanks, Jim. Just one item for CEO report. That's Brookside Solar. As we all know, I've been working with the AES. They're the company project sponsor, along with the affected taxing jurisdictions, which is the towns of Chateauguay, Burke, the Chateauguay Central School District, and the county, to negotiate a proposed terms for the pilot and host community agreement. We're pretty close on that. We've been meeting an awful lot with everybody, and I've asked Sherry, and she was willing to join in when able. Interesting meetings with the group, but it's been a great group to work with, and whatever the outcome is, I can say that all of those jurisdictions are the people that live there are well represented by their elected officials, that's for sure. So I'm hoping to come back to all of you with more information about that within the month is my hope. So that's all I've got for IDA.
Very good. Thank you. We have a motion to accept CEO report.
So moved.
Move Clyde, second. Second, Nick. All in favor of accepting the CEO report, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Old business. There being none, we'll move on to new business. You all received by email notes from Jeremy concerning the two resolutions that are listed on your agenda for today. So could we have a motion to accept resolution 2025-04, authorizing the assignment of tower land leases? Motion.
So-
Motion by Clyde, second. Scott Gordon. All those in, just any discussion now, so we'll go ahead with discussion. Is there any need for discussion based on what you saw? There being none, we'll assume that we're ready to vote the resolution 2025-04, authorizing the assignment of tower land leases. Again, copies of which you received in your emails. Rachel, go ahead and call the roll.
Jerry Bouye,
Yes.
Jim Ellis,
Yes.
Scott Gordon,
Yes.
Clyde Rabideau,
Yes.
Nick Russell.
Yes.
Thank you. Resolution 2025-04 is approved. We now will move on to resolution 2025-05 to approve the modification of the Covington Solar Project. Do we have a motion to put it on the floor? Motion? Nick? Second?
Second.
Clyde? All in, any questions based on what you saw in your email when Jeremy gave us the full report on what we had to do? It's basically a simple modification. There being none, then we'll assume we're ready to call the roll.
Jerry Bouye,
Yes.
Jim Ellis,
Yes?
Scott Gordon,
Yes.
Clyde Rabideau,
Yes.
Nick Russell.
Yes.
Very good. Thank you. Is there any need for executive session?
No.
Then we'll move on to public comment. There being none, we'll move on to adjournment with the date of the next meeting set for June 11th, 2025. Could we have a motion to adjourn this meeting of the IDA?
So moved.
Motion by Clyde, second. Nick? All in favor, signify by saying aye. Opposed, nay?